Good morning, everyone. I'm in reference to the topic ethical disaster resilience for our global community. So I thought of a topic that would combat disaster. So I thought of about graft and corruption, and this time from a maritime bioethics perspective. And yesterday we learned about the meaning of disaster, resilient ability to cope up with problems or stress. So the definition of disaster, of course, depends on your definition by individual persons. So while listening to my presentation, take note of what kind of disaster will this graft and corruption. What is the consequences of graft and corruption? My presentation is outlined as shown on the slide. Briefly, I'll be presenting just a few minutes, like 2 minutes about MAAP, where I am connected. A brief introduction. What are the types of corruption? Obstacles in corruption. The cause of corruption. How to address corruption by an individual. What are the suggestions for all concerned agencies to address corruption? And concluding remarks. MAAP is situated on a 125-hectare campus that's in Bataan Peninsula, about 150 kilometers from Manila. It is founded in January 1998. It is a private, non-stock, non-profit academic institution established by AUSN. AUSN is Association of Marine Officers Seamen's Union of the Philippines. And this is MAAP is established to ensure continuous supply of competent maritime deck and engine officers through full scholarship. So all our students are all scholars. And they are being sponsored by 40 shipping companies. And as you know, Philippines is the mining capital of the world. So anywhere you go, you see Filipino seafarers. And on the photo is my favorite person. He is my president, Admiral Eduardo Mar Santos. And he was formerly flag officer in command of the Philippine Navy. So he retired at a very young age of 56, but again at MAAP. And MAAP is envisioned as a leading institution of excellence in maritime education and training in the Asia-Pacific region and beyond. We provide quality education and training to both midshipmen and trainees because we have a training center for development of competent seafarers who shall possess the character, knowledge, and skills necessary for the successful pursuit of a maritime career. Just Google the location of MAAP, and just to show the result in the PRC licensure examination. From the start, the time that the MAAP was established in 1998, so our first graduate, of course, class 2003. So as you can see on the slide, 2003 to 2011, the percentage rate, national passing rate in the Philippines is only 48%. But at MAAP, we all of them, mostly. So 95% pass. So that's a positive indicator that we don't produce ordinary men, but we produce officers. So these are the master mariners, chief engineers. And this is also the Philippine University ranking of maritime. There are 98 maritime schools in the country, reduced to 26, and now 78 maritime institutions, and MAAP ranked number 1. And this is for the past 6 examinations. And the Philippines has more than 2,000 higher educational institutions. And according to the Web Barometrics ranking of World University, and that is based on performance of universities from all over the world, based on their web presence and impact, MAAP ranked number 28 in terms of presence, impact, openness, and excellence rank. That's in the Philippines. Some photos. We have a training ship, and we just acquired the second training ship. Now my task. Addressing graft and corruption. Mind you, this is from a civilian, from a maritime educator's point of view. no country is actually spared from the stream of corruption. It is practically considered as a social cancer to the country. In spite of the promises of all administration to eradicate corruption, high levels of corrupt activity continue to proliferate. As our President Duterte says, change is coming. Still, it is believed that only Filipinos can solve corruption in the Philippines. Corruption is not an accident. Is it intentional? Yes. It is the result of human arrogance, greed, and indifference. To those who are its victims, it is a crime. Corruption impairs the ability of governments to fulfill their obligation and ensure accountability in the implementation of human rights. Corruption is perhaps the most studied phenomenon in Philippine governance. There are a lot of literatures, a lot of books. For this particular lecture or presentation, I would say that I have read a lot of books, literature. I read a lot from the website. So let me just summarize all of those that I have read through this presentation. Let me also share with you the 2016 Corruption Perception Index. And from the table, it shows that the Philippines ranked 101, similar to other 6 countries in Africa, America, Asia Pacific, like Gabon, Niger, Peru, Thailand, Timor-Leste, and Trinidad and Tobago. Studies have shown there is a connection between corruption and inequality. We have heard it 100 times. That resulted to a vicious cycle between corruption and unequal distribution of wealth and power in the society. No country got a perfect score of 100 in the Corruption Perception Index in 2016, but I'd just like to emphasize that Denmark and New Zealand ranked #1. And take note, our dear Professor Derry Mazer is from New Zealand.
Yeah.
That's why AUSN has grown no corruption.
No corruption.
No corruption because of the noble advocacy of Professor Mazer. And I'm so happy to know that he is from New Zealand. And I only learned that because of this presentation. And the scored worst, South Sudan and Somalia.
Yeah.
And we heard the presentation about Somalia and how the Turkish people are, really providing good things for Somalia because of the graft and corruption of those put on the position. Okay. 2016 Corruption Perception Index, so that's the table, just to show you, which I summarized earlier. Corruption seemingly persists in spite of efforts to minimize and control this social cancer. This tells us only one thing, that controlling corruption is a tough job, but someone has got to start doing it. And it starts from our own personal actions to do it. And remember, yesterday, Professor Raquel made mention to us that we have to start it. We have to do it on our own. Okay? I also see the need to do this advocacy as a civilian because of the reality that the fight against corruption is considered to be the moral individual challenge of our times. We are always asked if we can still stamp out corruption. And to this, I tell you, both as an invitation, as a challenge, we must say yes. Not only because saying no means giving up, and thus causes us to do nothing, but because giving up becomes very destructive and is considered to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. So in corruption, our no counts. types of corruption in the Philippines. So let me summarize all those in this slide. Number one, tax evasion. This is experienced especially in private sector. That's dishonesty in declaration of annual income with corresponding tax to the government. Because in the Philippines, the higher the tax, rather the higher the salary, the higher would be the tax. 32% goes to the government. Number two, ghost projects and payrolls. In government, wherein non-existing projects like infrastructures are financed by the government with granting of salaries, allowances, and benefits to non-existing personnel. That's why they're called ghosts. No project, but they are payrolls. Number three, evasion of public bidding in awarding of contracts. In the government, they forgo bidding or awarding of contracts. Why? To favor contractors for their personal benefits. 4, passing of contracts. To one contractor to another. Why? To get percentage of project value, resulting to substandard materials or unfinished projects. 5, nepotism and favoritism. These are employment of unqualified relatives and friends, resulting to inefficiency and overflowing of government employees in the bureaucracy. 6, extortion. That's demanding money, items, or services from ordinary citizens who transact business with them. Why? For the fast issuance of certificates, documents, and of course, some hiring. 7, protection money or toll. These are for citizens doing illegal activities and operations. And these are without permits, delivering huge money to government in charge of enforcing the law, gambling, and drug lords. 8, the bribery, or we call it in the Philippines, lagay system. This is to facilitate issuance of desired documents, example, permits, license, clearance, or quick decisions in court. Now, what are the causes of corruption? Marlon excellently presented the different forms of disasters. So these are the causes of corruption: politics, administration and institution, environmental effect, economic and social effect, humanitarian aid, other areas like health, public safety, education, and training, which I did not elaborate more. And what are the measures employed to control graft and corruption? 2 measures: legal measures and anti-corruption bodies, government, NGOs, and other initiatives. But what are the obstacles to anti-corruption efforts? In the Philippines, we have this, number 1, specific culture of Filipinos. One is nepotism, which justify the hiring of undeserving recipients, evident in employment and awarding of contracts. Second, we also have gift-giving culture, hence enhance corrupt practice, as it justifies bribery and extortion, making hard for law enforcement and anti-corruption bodies to solve the corruption problem, even if there are laws already prohibiting gift-giving. Second, the anti-corruption agencies are not well funded by the government. Hence, personnel of these agencies are vulnerable to bribery because of lack of recognition, merits, awards, rewards, lack of financial support, integrity, and professionalism. Third, transparency in government transactions are not observed religiously, as public are denied access to activities of government officials. Hence, the people are informed in details of how they are not informed in details on how various executive departments, legislature, and judiciary spend their financial requirements. Another obstacle is the effective monitoring of government programs, projects, expenditures, which are not seriously undertaken by those tasked to monitor them. Hence, they are also vulnerable to bribery and just rely on information provided to them. Number 5, there is no agency of government deputized to examine the veracity or authenticity of data entered on the submitted statements of assets and liabilities annually submitted by public officials. Hence, those with unexplained wealth can successfully hide the money by paying accountants to make accurate and official statements for them. And other anti-corruption provisions that work against getting good people in the government. Now, the important question. How do we address corruption? What can a civilian or a regular Filipino or a regular Thai, Bangladesh, Malaysian, Iran, how can we do? What can we do rather to stop this corruption? My friends, depending on our respective capabilities, depending on our physical, intellectual, material, and financial, and whatever circumstances, we can do one or more, or even all, in order to stop what I had just mentioned, corruption in the country. And we don't have to worry whether or not our efforts will be rewarded with success. What is important is that we did what we can, and remember, doing the right thing has its own rewards. So how? First, we have to learn more about corruption. We cannot be vigilant against and fight something we do not know and understand. There's a saying, knowledge is power. We can read books, articles, news, internet, or even we can use social media, Facebook. Second, we are educators. We help educate our people about corruption, such as we can start the education campaign at home with our children. In fact, it is the best place to start. We can also write the Department of Education, the Commission on Higher Education, to include anti-corruption modules in the school curricula. We cannot fight corruption alone. We have to empower other people to help us. So the module, just as a suggestion, it could include the following. What corruption is, when is there opportunity for committing corruption? How corruption are committed? Who commits corruption? The pernicious effects of corruption. What are the laws about corruption? What are the government offices who are mandated to fight and prevent corruption? What citizens, communities, churches, and non-government organizations can do to help fight corruption and even prevent corruption? What are the rights of citizens against the government and public officers like the Bill of Rights? Third, we can help reverse the culture of corruption in the government. How? By participating in anti-corruption forums, gatherings, programs, and activities. Join anti-corruption watchdogs, groups, organizations, and social networks, including those in Facebook. Speak out against corruption in appropriate forums, programs, and gatherings. Speak out against corruption through the media by calling your favorite radio stations and television network, just like how Dana did, does it in South Africa.
No.
Hello, Dana.
Oh, thank you.
Very good. Report shenanigans in government that may come to your knowledge. To the Office of the Ombudsman, in the Philippines we have these offices, Department of Justice, National Bureau of Investigation, Philippine National Police, Commission on Audit, Civil Service Commission, agency where the concerned public officer is employed, accredited anti-corruption watchdogs, media, and other anti-corruption Facebook pages and groups. Related to this, you may also access anti-corruption notes on website. There are so many. Number 5, refuse to cooperate with or be victimized by corrupt public officers. If our transaction with the government is legitimate and all we want is a fair treatment and we are patient enough to comply with all the legal requirements and to fall in line, there is really no need to resort to bribery or in any of its various disguises, including gifts or to employee fixers or patrons. In the Philippines, we have two Republic Acts. One is 6713, which is Code of Conduct and Ethical Standards for Public Officers and Employees. And another one is the Republic Act number 9485, which is Anti-Red Tape Act of 2007. Now, if I recall it right, the Republic Act number 6713, that if the government official receive a letter of request from the public, the official must respond within 15 working days. And the Republic Act number 9485, for example, that all the procedures for a particular service that is being offered by that agency must be posted on the bulletin board. Even the cost, even the person to contact, even the time for that particular service to be finished in a certain day. So everything, the legal measures are there. So we have to break the corruption chain. 6, ostracize or shun corrupt public officials. Do not get them as patrons or to sponsor weddings and baptisms or as guests and resource speakers in public forums and gatherings. And if possible, shame them in venues available to you like the media and social networks. But it must be ethical, within the bounds of the law, of course, to avoid libel suit. 7, vote wisely, and help at least your family, your neighbors, friends, and co-workers understand the issues involved during elections to enable them to vote wisely. Do not be carried away by paid infomercials and partisan propaganda. No candidate will ever advertise his deficiencies and sins. Learn about the education background, track record, and advocacies of candidates and political parties. Do not be carried away by bandwagons against your good judgment. Stop at least yourself and your family from accepting money, gifts, and other goodies from candidates for public office. In other words, don't sell your votes. Vote for people who possess integrity, courage, independence of mind, competence, and have sound advocacies. 8, lobby for the appointment of persons with integrity, competence, and independence of mind to the office of the Ombudsman, Commission on Audit, Philippine Commission for Good Governance, Civil Service Commission, the Judiciary, and all government agencies for that matter. Promotions to higher position in the government should be based on merits and fitness, and not on popularity or on patronage. Lobby for the codification of all anti-corruption laws for easy access by concerned citizens, anti-corruption groups, and NGOs. Lobby for the passage of laws. We want to lobby for the anti-dynasty law, protection and encouragement of whistleblowers. You know the whistleblowers? Yes. Okay. Freedom of information, the QTAM laws, that's allowing citizens to directly file civil cases for the recovery of proceeds of corruption and tax frauds, as well as ill-gotten wealth of corrupt public officials, and giving them certain percentage of the recovered amount and other relevant laws. We also would like to lobby for the abolition of the pork barrel. You know pork barrel? Well, these are the money given to the politician that they use, for various projects and activities. No wonder they want to run for office because of that pork barrel. Raising it as an issue during elections and challenging candidates for congressmen, including party list candidates and senators, to waive their pork barrel in case they are elected. Not voting for and telling candidates for the Congress that you are not voting for those who uphold the pork barrel system. Writing the President and House of Representatives and the Senate to abolish the pork barrel system. We also would like to lobby for the creation of branches, divisions of the Sandigan Bayans in the other big islands in the Philippines, in Visayas, and Mindanao, and special anti-corruption regional trial courts of regional trial court level in every region in order to make those courts more accessible, especially to those who have less in life. Make life hell for corrupt public officials and employees. Remember, the accomplice to the crime of corruption is frequently our indifference. And remember also, there are two kinds of sins: the sin of omission and the sin of commission. Commission, if you committed a crime, a sin, and omission, where you have to do something, but you did not do anything. Now, 10 suggestions for those concerned government agencies to address corruption in the country, which we have to pass it on. 1. Punish the vote sellers and vote brokers. Corrupt voters give birth to corrupt politicians. Agree? So in order to stop corruption, we have to start eliminating it at its birth. That is during election. Second, annual assessment of all public officials by the Bureau of Internal Revenue. 3. A more effective and efficient tax system. Number 4, regular surprise examination of all government offices. 5, timely governmental audit by commission and audit or by an independent auditing firm. 6, strict regulation of all corporation in the Philippines. Improve integrity in our justice system. Continuing professional education requirements for politicians. Reduce the number of government officials. Now, question: which of the 10 suggested solutions is the best to fight corruption in your respective countries? Do you have any other solution to share? To stop, or at least we can correct corruption in your respective country? What I've just presented is just from the point of view of a maritime educator, a maritime researcher from the Philippines. In conclusion, in addressing corruption in the Philippines, it is a multi-pronged strategy to raise general community awareness about corruption problem and to create public pressure to make public officials more accountable for their actions. I always believe people are placed in their position based on the disposition of their decision. So what I just presented suggested practical measures that would address corruption based on internet search, various readings, both local and international, observations, and from a civilian perspective. The success would require a fundamental shift of culture to a state wherein in the Philippines, the Filipino people will no longer accept the corrupt acts as a natural way that the government works in the Philippines. We have good leaders in the Philippines, but remember, just one rotten egg will spoil the rest. And with that, thank you very much. That's me in my Navy uniform. I'm Lieutenant Commander of the Philippine Navy and Brigadier General of Interpol. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we have, I'm sure we have questions. Yes, Tahira?
Actually, it's not a question. You ask for solutions. And I'll begin with a comparison or a synonym. That if a body has cancer and it is slowly the whole cancer spread throughout the whole body.
That's right.
You cannot cure that person. You can cure maybe some parts. If the stomach has cancer, cut out the stomach has cancer. But you cannot cure this whole person because it has taken time for the cancer to spread. You could not control it at the beginning. I speak for my country.
Yes.
And in my country, this cancer has spread everywhere. Now, how to get rid of this cancer? Think of the next generation. Usually, most cancers are not genetical based. We have forgotten our values. We do not teach our children anything about the value system. Because when they go home, they see their father is bringing in a 54 inches television. He doesn't get the money to buy that. Even we couldn't buy anything like that. We have worked for so many years in the UN. So, what is it? They are setting a bad example. And that means from the beginning, certain communities, like the Christian religious leaders, if they go to church, or the Muslims, wherever they are, they should start from the very beginning. Like we were taught, Aesop's fables. We were taught every day we have to memorize 10 ethics laws or whatever you say therein. I think they learned from your Catholic nuns. Either you memorize it or you get a backing on your hand with the duster. And nobody would steal a rubber or a pencil from anybody. And if you would bring anybody's things home, then my mom would make us no dinner and you would hold your hands, ears, sit up and down for 20 times and go to bed. So this is a kind of upbringing that is missing now. We do not train our children and the value has gone. That value has to come back again and only then can you expect this. This will not help because they will learn and they will find other ways to cheat.
Yes. Thank you for that very nice insight. That's right. You should start that. Yes, Dada.
Yeah, okay. I want to talk from a perspective of public service. I have the opportunity to serve with the president of my country, the last administration, in the office of the special advisor to the president on ethics and Baylon. And after that, after my master's, I served with African Union, ECOSOC. But what I see about the fight against corruption in my part of the world is just like hypocrisy.
Yeah.
The present administration is fighting corruption, but it's hypocritical because there has been a lot of policy somersaults in the fight against corruption. Before in my country, there is nothing like when people pay to the government, the money is not remitted to the federal government's account. It goes to private individuals. Now there is a system that makes sure that the money goes to the government. What happens to the real people is that if the government charges 2,000, the people that work for government will double the price. So you pay 2,000 to the government, you pay 2,000 to them. So that makes life to become worse for the people. So since that the government says that they need to show evidence that you pay to the government, before the money is being accepted from you, you pay 2,000 to the government, you pay 2,000 to them. 2,000 is recorded officially, 2,000 is recorded unofficially. So what I see is that, from the president's perspective, he used the fight against corruption as a political strategy. If you belong to his party, no fight against you. Whatever you stole, no problem. But if you are not part of that party, so my question is this, that how can you fight corruption without
Yes, you cannot fight really corruption. You cannot. But you can do it from you start it yourself, and then I have provided a lot of recommendation. You should choose a good leader, one with the pure heart that has the best interest of his or her constituents. Somebody who came from New Zealand, for example, that would be a very good president. Because the corruption. That's why we cannot fight the system. The social cancer, but one rotten egg. That's why people are placed in a position based on the disposition of one's position. So if you put a bad president, a bad leader, don't put bad person in power. That's it. Because we are just civilians. We want something. We can fight the giants, We cannot. That's why, Sudan, Somalia, is from Africa. I'm sorry, my friend, that what we cannot. We are just an ordinary. That's why I admire you in your presentation yesterday. You want to fight, but you cannot. Because that's probably through good works and hard works, prayers probably, we can go there through AUSN.
Just as a comment, I want to quote from the Indian poet and philosopher Rabindranath Tagore. And he said, "Do not curse the darkness, just light a candle, so we can contribute this much, but around us is bright."
That's right. And that is the advocacy of our Asian Bioethics Institute, the Bioethics Institute, through our little way. That's why I really felt it's very heartwarming. When I read the communication, the Istanbul Declaration, which is the advocacy of LGBT10, we are here. We are all gathered here for a purpose and for a reason. So it's God's way. It's God's instrument. And all bright minds with good heart are put together in the August hall of this Bet team. For a purpose and for a reason. And I also think this organization, because if not with this topic, I'm a chemist, but I thought about corruption, rapid corruption, so I hope you enjoyed listening to my presentation, and I think this could be another thesis or a dissertation comparing the different in the anti-corruption practices of various countries. But this, I think, my suggestion would be a good suggestion for all. Because anyway, we only live in one world. It just so happened we are in different region with different culture, but we all fight for the same principle. We are united in one objective and in one principle. And to that, I'd like to say thank you very much and good afternoon.
Thank you.